Alright friends, we were talking about functions, and in this video I'm going to talk about function return. Okay, and I'm also going to talk about this operator, what it does, and let me just cover the basics first. What is function invocation? Okay, function invocation is the code inside the function. Okay, and it will execute when something that is another function or command, okay, invokes or calls it. So that's what is the meaning of function invocation. Okay, and when an event occurs, for example, let's look at some examples here. When an event occurs, like events like user click, okay, user can click or mouse scroll or boolean entry like yes or no. Okay, any of these events, when they happen, what happens is a JavaScript function is invoked. Okay, and a function is invoked from the JavaScript code, and automatically it will also be, sometimes the function is automatically or self-invoked. Okay, and you will learn more about function invocation later, but for now I'm going to focus on function return. Okay, when JavaScript reaches a return statement, the function will stop executing. Okay, so return is equal to stop executing. That's what it means in JavaScript language. Okay, and when you reach this line, JavaScript would stop executing. So if a function was invoked from a statement, from an external statement, which could be another function or command right here, JavaScript will return to execute the code after invoking the statement. Okay, functions often compute a return value. Okay, the return value is returned back to the caller. So the command or statement, it invokes a function. Okay, a function stops executing when it reaches the return keyword, and then the function returns the value. Where will the value go? Let me go back to the next line. Returns the value to the caller, and the caller is nothing but the command or the statement. Okay, so try to understand this, and if you understand this concept here, you will easily be able to understand what goes on in a function, and how you can execute a function, and how you can call a function, invoke a function, and what kind of return statements do you need from the function. Okay, let's look at some examples here. Let me clear the screen first, and I'm going to give you an example. And in this example, I'm going to show you something that I've shown before, but with similar a similar example, but just to show you, highlight that what is the meaning of return and how you invoke or call a function. Alright guys, let's get started. We have doc type, okay, HTML. Then I want you to open up the HTML tag, open up the body tag, and open up the paragraph tag and say this example calls a function which computes a statement and returns the result. Okay, so and then we're going to see what the result is going to be. So let's open up another paragraph tag and call it PID is equal to demo. Okay, and close the tag and close the paragraph tag. Open up the script tag, function, my function. Okay, you're calling it my function A B. Okay, and open up the curly bracket. I like to start the curly bracket in a separate line, and I want you to say return A times B. Okay, which means the function is given the values of A and B. The function is going to multiply and return the value. That's what it means basically. Okay, and then you're going to say document dot get element by ID demo dot inner HTML is equal to my function, and then you're going to send it to two values 6 and 8. Okay, so it's going to multiply 6 and 8. 6 is automatically A and 8 is automatically B. Okay, close the script tag and close the body tag, close the HTML tag. Alright, great. Let's save this file. Alright, I'm going to save it as HTML as well. .html. Already saved the text file. Now I'm saving the HTML file, and I want to find this file, function return. There you go. This example calls a function, okay, which is this guy here, calls the function which computes the statements and returns the result 48. 6 times 8 is 48. So I just accomplished that a function can be invoked like this. In the statement, this function was invoked. It was called and it was given values. Okay, and then the function is invoked, it was called, and it was given values, and the function when invoked will run. Okay, and it will compute. So return A times B, it's going to stop here and it's going to return the value A times B right here equals to. Okay, so there's a bit of back and forth going on between these statements here. Okay, but I think that's more than enough for you to understand what goes on behind a function and what goes on about the return statement and how functions are invoked. Okay, now the question is, why do we use functions? Why? The main reason why we use function is because you can reuse the code, and that is the beauty of object-oriented programming. You can reuse the code. You can define the code once and use it many times by just simply changing values, by simply calling the function from one place to another, by simply, reusing the code. That's what basically the function of the function is. And remember, functions only do one thing at a time, which means that if you have a statement like this, you cannot have A times B in the same function and you're going to do A plus B the same function. The addition function is going to be something else. You could call this, instead of my function, you could say multiply function, and the next function you could say addition function. But do not make the function do two things. You can use the same code many times with different arguments to produce different results. For example, my function, if I added another line, document.getElement by ID, and I had to also open up another demo, demo2.innerHTML is equal to function, my function. I could say the same thing, my function, instead of 6, 8, I could give it more values like 4 and 3, and the answer is going to be, under this 48, I'm going to have a 12 here, which means that you can use the same function with many different arguments. This thing here is called an argument. Okay, let me clear this screen, and I'm going to use another example to further reinforce my point. Okay, begin typing. Doc type HTML. Open up the HTML tag. Open up the body tag. Open up the paragraph tag and say this example calls a function to convert from Fahrenheit to Celsius. Okay, you could do many other things at the same time, like those conversion formulae that you have. You could apply that as well. Okay, open up the paragraph tag and say PID is equal to demo. Okay, close the paragraph tag and close the tag here, and open up the script tag and say function to Celsius. You can understand what this function is going to do. Celsius. Okay, and be very careful when you call this function, and call it f. Okay, so this is going to convert, this is going to take a value f and it's going to convert to Celsius. That's what it means. I'm going to hit another space here, enter, and another one, and I'm going to say I like to do the tab as well. Okay, it's a better idea embedding your code. I didn't do it the last time, but I think it's better to do it each time. And then you're going to do 5. That's the formula for converting Celsius to Fahrenheit, if you remember. 5 divided by 9. Okay, within the brackets, you should know operator precedence by now. F minus 32. Okay, and you're going to close the curly bracket like so, and you're going to call this function by saying document dot get element by id id demo dot inner HTML is equal to Celsius. Call this function and give it a value 78. Okay, so we are giving it a value of 78 degrees Fahrenheit, and it will be converted into Celsius. Okay, so this F is going to be replaced by 78. Okay, and if you do 78 minus 32 and then 5 by 9, whatever answer is, multiply these two, you will get 2 Celsius, the answer of 2 Celsius. Okay, let's go ahead and close the script tag. Okay, the function is written within the JavaScript, within curly brackets. Close the body tag and also close the HTML tag. Alright, all good. Let's save this file. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save this file as function returned 1, and also save it as .html. Okay, .html. Yes, yes. All right, and then let's find this file here, function returned 1. There you go. This example calls a function to convert from Fahrenheit to Celsius, which means the number given here was 78 degree Fahrenheit, and this is 25.555557 degrees centigrade. Okay, again, this doesn't make much sense to me right now. I need to see the units and everything, which is why we're going to learn more things in the upcoming lectures. I want to be able to add the unit here, degrees centigrade, and I will be teaching you all of those things in the upcoming videos. But for now, what I want to show you is how you call the function, how you return the function answer, and how you are able to display it within JavaScript. So remember, function is written within the JavaScript. Each function is only responsible for one action, and The function can be self invoked as well, or it is triggered by an event. And right now the triggering event was just running this whole file. You could also have some kind of an interactive program in which you click on a button and you receive this answer. So that would be a button click, okay, event, which generates the invocation of the function. And as soon as the function hits the return line, it will stop being executed and it will return the value that it has computed already to the caller. And this statement is the caller, okay, because it is calling to Celsius. Okay, remember, you can also provide many different arguments. For example, instead of 78 in the next line, I could give it 102, and it would still work because functions are able to compute as many arguments as you give them. Alright, with this I'm going to end my lecture, and in the next lecture I'm going to talk about other issues with functions and how you can use the bracket operator to define your functions, okay, and to call them. And I'm also going to be talking about functions used in variable values, okay, how you can change variables and invoke different kind of capabilities within one function. Alright, I'll see you shortly. Take